Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing? How have you all been? Sorry for the slight delay. I was just making sure that our camera settings were right. How is everybody? How have you been, guys? It's a pleasure to see you again. So, I just want to make sure that we all have time to connect. We're going to wait for a minute or two just to make sure that everybody has logged on, that they can hear us, that everything is good. But in the meantime, it's a great morning. Happy Easter for some of you that celebrate. Happy Saturday for those of you who don't. But it's really good to see you guys again. How have you been? Tell me, where are you tuning in from? Like I said, we're going to wait just one moment for other students to connect. We already know that many people connect from all over the world, so we're just going to give it 1 or 2 minutes. In the meantime, uh, tell me how you guys have been. How have you been? Tony says you had a haircut. Yes, Kalipan also says I had a haircut, and yes, I imagine that will be a topic that will come up. So, yes, I did have a haircut. Where I live now is very hot. And I also thought that maybe I needed a little change of look. So, yeah, I had a haircut. What do you guys think? hmm So, it's also great to see Riju from Nepal, Luan from Brazil. Of course, I remember you. Kalipan, I also remember, yes, from Sri Lanka. So awesome. Asha from Nepal. Excellent. I see somebody from Pakistan, Myanmar. Excellent. Yes, it's very different from my original thumbnail image, actually. But hair grows, and I look different sometimes, and then I'll go back, and looks change. But it's very good. So, Danish, okay. Some people from Turkey, another person from Pakistan. That's awesome. That's really good. Perfect. Now, I just want to make sure that you guys can see this. According to me, it's right, and you should be able to read it. But for some reason, YouTube always gives us a little bit of trouble with the orientation. So, is this the right side up? If you can see this, just give me a thumbs up. And perfect. Yes. So, thank you. Perfect. Excellent. Yeah, that's why. Sorry, guys. Like I said, there was a little minute or two delay because it kept getting flipped. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. All right. Let me just put things in order. Today, I have a lot of little phrases. They might be a little small. I'm going to try to keep them here in the front as long as I can to explain them. But because we have a lot of examples and because the topic is a little bit difficult, I made a lot more little notes like this. All right. But remember, you guys, the good thing about our lives is that we make them stay on our YouTube channel. So whenever you want, you can go back, watch them again, study them, share them with your friends. That's the big advantage of our lives. Also, remember that if you're not subscribed already, you should definitely go ahead and do so because that is what keeps us going. It really helps us know that you guys are interested, that you enjoy the material, and of course, we want to keep helping you. All right? So, let's get it started. Today, what are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about the complex object. All right? It may not be something that you've heard of because this is just a way of referencing something that comes up in grammar. Some of you have already taken my class before, whether it's on Cambly or on YouTube. So some of you know what I think is the most important grammar rule, and I always repeat it in many classes. The most important grammar rule is a formula. So what is this formula? What is the most important grammar rule? What do you guys think? Do you remember? Like I said, some of you already took my class, some of you have not. All right, so I'm seeing some By the way, hello, Swelly. Hello, Jim from Gryffindor. Also, I am actually a Ravenclaw. So nice to see that. So Luan, Kalipan, yes, yes. My dear students are saying SVO. SVO. All right. So what does that mean? It means subject, verb, object. All right. SVO. And it looks simple, right? SVO, just a tiny little formula. But even though it's a little simple, it is the most important formula in grammar, according to me. I'm going to put it way up here because we're going to talk about a lot of different things. Okay. It means subject, verb, object. And normally that's very easy to explain. The subject is the thing or person that does the action. The verb is the action. And the object is usually what complements or receives the action, right? What explains it, right? So we already know what a subject is. We already know what a verb is. We just need to understand really, really well what the object is. And today we're going to explain a little bit about the object in detail. All right. So, what do you guys think? Have you ever thought about, hey, what is an object? What is a subject? What is a verb? Maybe some of you guys haven't, but what do you guys think? What is it? What is an object? Oh, sorry. Let me pick up my marker and tell me, you guys, what is an object? What is an object, you guys? Object, a person or thing to which an action or feeling is directed. Okay, good, very good. Object is a paper box. So here is where we have a big confusion. There are two things that we have to distinguish. One thing is the word type, and another thing is the word function. Okay. The word type is usually divided into four categories. There are many word types, but the four main word types are really simple. The four main word types are noun, verb, adjective, and adverb. All right. We're not going to keep it up so you don't get confused. But noun, verb, adjective, and adverb. Those are the word types. Like I said, there are more word types, but these are the most important ones. So I know it's very confusing because if I say, hey, my marker is an object, or my phone is an object, or my watch is an object, that sounds right. But we're talking about the function, okay? So the function of a word is what it does in the grammar part of it. The tricky thing is we have to remember that a subject can be a noun and an object can also be a noun, right? For example, if I say, I eat cake, obviously my subject is I, my verb is eat, and cake is the object. I am a type of noun, all right? A pronoun. And cake is also a noun, a simple noun. So I can use nouns in the subjects or nouns in the objects. Is that clear? So it's not always just a thing, okay? The object is the function in grammar. Is that clear? Tell me if you understood, you guys. Also, Kalipan was saying it's a word affected by the verb or preposition in a sentence. Exactly. The objects are used to give additional details about the action performed by a subject. Yeah, that's pretty good, Julian. Thank you. Luan says yes. Tony, is that clear? Learning English, perfect. Asid Mudassar, perfect. Okay, good, excellent. So you know what a subject is, what a verb is. I think you know what a verb is, right, guys? It's an action, any action, when it's functioning as a verb, and the object. Okay, excellent. But here we're going to talk about something that maybe you haven't talked about so much. We're going to talk about the complex object. All right. Now, the thing is that the complex object is just a type of function of the objects. Okay? The objects are usually divided into direct and indirect. And first, we have to understand that. The direct object has a specific function, and the indirect object has a different function. Okay? I'm going to just put that here. So first of all, the direct object. What is a direct object? How can we explain it? Do you understand what it is? What do you think, you guys? What is a direct object? I'm just going to put this up here. What is a direct object, you guys? Object is the function of a verb. Non-living things are direct objects. Noun or pronoun that receives the action of a verb in a sentence. Jimmy says a nuclear missile. All right. So the direct object is very simple. Okay. It's very, very, very simple to explain. And I think Kalipan was the one that gave us the most accurate answer. Okay. So a direct object is a noun that is acted on or affected by a verb. Okay? That's the essential thing. That is the definition. A noun that is affected by a verb. All right? And of course, it can be different types of nouns. It can also be a pronoun, for example. Okay? But that's the essential meaning. It is a noun affected by a verb. Okay? Noun affected by a verb. So, I know this is really small, you guys. This is just to keep a reminder. Go full screen if you can't see it, but it's just a reminder. The direct object is the noun affected by a verb. Okay? Noun affected by a verb. So when I say subject, verb, object, if I have eat, for example, eat will directly affect my direct object if I have one. I eat cake, for example. So we have the verb affecting this little guy here. All right? Oh, where did my marker go again? Oh, here. So the verb affects the direct object. All right? That's the key. Let me raise my camera just a little bit. Okay? That's the key. The verb affects the direct object. If I say I eat cake, the direct object is cake. If I say Tony gave a great example. I bought a car. It's a sentence in the past. I, subject, bought, verb, and the object, of course, is a car. I bought a car. Kos or Kus, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, says the player kicks the ball, right? So obviously the player, subject, the verb is kicks, and it is affecting our direct object, the ball. All right. Jim Kennedy says, I smell kidneys. That could be true. It would be weird, but it is grammatically correct. So I am the subject, the verb is smell, and kidneys would be the object. It could be I smell perfume, I smell kidneys, I smell meat, I smell food, I smell flowers, etc. Learning English for You says, I sell the mobile phone. Exactly. Right? Kalipan says, play the guitar. Good. So if I say play the guitar, Kalipan, that is correct. But what is my subject? You are missing a subject. So how could you make that a little bit better? So up until this point, I think it's clear, right, you guys? It's understandable. You got it. Are there any questions? Just tell me if it's clear. Very good. I'm starting to see. Yes, every actor played his part. Okay, that's interesting. We're going to explain a little bit of that in the next part, the indirect object. Very good. All right. So, Kalipan gave us an interesting example where she is using the indirect object. Actually, I'm going to put it here, just so I'm not covering it. She gave us an example of the indirect object. Why? Because she said everyone played their guitar, something like that. Every actor played his part. Okay? Very good. I walk on the street. Very good. I walk on the street. Good. Excellent. Excellent. Okay? So, let's talk a little bit about that. The indirect object. What is the difference between a direct object and an indirect object? What do you think, you guys? It's simple, but some people are confused by it. What do you think? Do you guys know what an indirect object is or how we can explain it? Tell me. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What is the indirect object? Any takers? Any answers? Nobody? All right, I'm not seeing any answers, you guys. So I'm going to start to help you. So the indirect object is a little bit trickier. There are different types of objects. The I object, not exactly. Kalipan says the indirect object is the recipient of an action. No, Kalipan, that is the direct object. The direct object is the recipient of the action. Recipient of the verb here. All right, that's why we have this big verb affecting the direct object. So the indirect object is not the recipient of the action. It is the one that is affected by the direct object, okay? The indirect object is affected by the direct object. Basically, it's that. Now, the definition would say it's the beneficiary, but it's the same thing, right? It means the same thing. And remember that objects or indirect objects can sometimes be alive or not alive. They can be humans or not humans. So it doesn't really depend on that. It depends what word is affecting it. So, for example, if I say, I eat cake, I am the subject, eat is the verb, and cake is my direct object because it is being affected by the verb. Okay, I eat cake. Boom, boom, boom. It's like a quick little jump of subject, verb, object. Okay, so we have that. However, when we have the indirect object, we have another noun, and it is a noun that is usually affected or benefiting from the direct object. Okay. Kalipan says that or whom receives a direct object. Exactly. Basically that. So, for example, if I say I eat cake, the cake is the direct object, right? But if I say I eat his cake, his is the indirect object. Well, no. it would be I eat the cake given to me by him. Okay? It would be that. So it's a little bit different. Okay? Like this. Let me give you an example. She gave the dog its dinner. It's a little difficult. She gave the dog its dinner. Okay. So if I say she gave the dog its dinner, what is the object and what is the indirect object? Kus says the player kicks the ball between the goalposts. Exactly. There you go. You have an object, the ball, a direct object, the ball, and the beneficiary, the goalposts. Okay. Kalipan says Martin read Maria the book. Exactly. So Maria is the indirect object and the book is the direct object. I eat his cake. Exactly. Exactly. Very, 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 very good. Okay. So that's the difference. Okay. Do you understand? Is that clear until now? We have direct objects directly affected by nouns and indirect objects which talk about or tell us who or what receives that action. All right. So I'm just going to pull out my markers. Dad made her a cake. Exactly. So if I say Dan made her a cake, what is the direct object and what is the indirect object? I got myself a mobile. Read you. Perfect. Exactly. Direct object affected by verb. Exactly, Jim. So when we have she gave the dog its dinner, we're going to say that the direct object is red. Okay. And we're going to say that the indirect object is blue. Okay. And we're going to mark them. So if I say she gave the dog its dinner, the dinner is a direct object, and the beneficiary is the dog, obviously. So we give the dinner to the dog, okay? You can always think of it like that. If I need to say to, then it's usually the indirect object, okay? So we have been explaining this very quickly. Any questions? Do you guys have any questions? Are you guys curious about anything? Is anything unclear? Is anything still, mushy? Do you need me to go over it? Tell me about it, you guys. Is it absolutely clear? Do you understand everything? Okay. Dog direct object. I hope so. Okay. So I'm thinking it's mostly clear. I'm thinking you guys understand most of it. But tell me, you guys, do you have any other questions? Do you have anything that is not understood? Tony says SVO. Right. SVO. And in some cases, the general object is a lot bigger. Always remember, guys, that usually when we have a sentence, SVO is the general formula, but that's why I printed another one here. The object can become another little sentence. It can be SVO, and O is just another SVO, and then we have another and another and another. That's why some sentences are very long, okay? Because we can actually link them like this. So it becomes a little difficult. It can become a little confusing, but that's the idea. Let me just fold this here. So a sentence can become much more complex because it can be SVO and the O can be SVO. All right. That's why some sentences are a lot more complex. And that's why we're talking about the complex object, because the object of a sentence can have several components, like Tony was saying. It can have the indirect object, it can have the direct object, and it can have the complex object, which we're going to explain in a moment. Okay? Now, give me 1 second, and we're going to explain that a little bit more. So, if I say the sentence, everyone likes her, what is her? Is it a direct object or an indirect object? Everyone likes her. What do you guys think? Everyone likes her. What is her? Is it an indirect object or a direct object? Direct. Exactly. Tony, very, 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 very good. So, direct object, because my verb is directly affecting my object, her. Everyone likes who? Her. Okay? Everyone likes her. The verb is going directly to her. Okay? And some people are asking about the indirect object again, just to make it clearer. Okay? Let's make it a little clearer. Remember, you guys, this is the key. Okay? When we have an indirect object, it is receiving or benefiting from the direct object. Okay? This is the best example. She gave the dog its dinner. So it is the benefit of the direct object. Who is benefiting? The indirect object. You understand? It means that the action is affecting the direct object, but who is receiving the direct object? The indirect object. Okay? So it's like we're going a little bit. I'm going to move this just to make space. Yes, it's like we're going a little bit like this. The verb goes into the direct object, and the direct object benefits my indirect object. Okay? That's the thing. So, for example, I give the dog its dinner. I give the dinner. Okay? I give the dinner, but to who? To the dog. So I give the dog its dinner. You can usually find the indirect object by asking to who. Okay. Is that better now, guys? Is it clearer? So now some people are asking about the complex object. All right. I know you guys are itching to understand it, but let me just ask a few more questions to make sure. Well, no, we'll leave them at the end. Okay? But in the meantime, guys, remember, for those of you who are just tuning in, or for those of you who have not watched all of the live, or if you have any questions, if it's not clear, remember, you can go back tomorrow or later or any day you want and watch it again. We make these live videos and we record them to make sure that everyone has access. So they're public, they're free. We love doing them, but we always ask that you support them. All right. So give them a like if you haven't. Remember to keep commenting them and share them with your friends. We also upload clips on our Instagram profile or on all of our social media. We try to create content. So for YouTube, of course, we make lives, we make other types of videos. So subscribe if you haven't already. And remember to keep tuning in, because it is a really, really, really huge thing that we love to do. We love to see you here. We love to teach you. We love to give you free classes. So like, subscribe, and share the videos. All right, that way we can keep making them. So up until now, yes, it's clear. I gave the dog its dinner. All right, very good. Now, some people are asking me, sorry, what is the complex object? And the complex object is usually this. Okay. All right, here. And Sid Musar, no, remember, the direct object is affected by the verb, and the indirect object is benefiting from the direct object. Okay. So very good, Kalipan. We're gonna love that. We're gonna love to have you here. So the complex object is basically this: when our noun is complemented by a verb. So you see, again, it's like this little formula again. Subject, verb, and then the object is another subject and verb. And maybe we can add another subject and verb and another and another and another. So it's like a chain reaction. It's like a link. Okay. But what does this mean? The complex object is a noun that has a verb. Well, the thing is, you guys, sometimes when we speak, we don't only talk about things. If I say I eat cake, let me put that up here because I'm always saying I eat cake. It's my favorite example. I love cake. If I say I eat cake, yeah, let's put it here. Obviously, eat is affecting cake, right? And cake is my direct object. But what if I want to talk about something different? What if I want to talk about an action? What if I want to tell you what somebody did in the morning? What if I want to tell you a story that is a little bit more complicated? That's where the complex object comes in, okay? And that is why sometimes we need to talk about things and their actions, all right? That's the fundamental difference. So, for example, if I say this, I want my son to sleep. What do you think this is? What is son? And what is to sleep? Do I have two verbs? Because that usually doesn't happen. So what is going on here? I want my son to sleep. What do you think, guys? I want my son to sleep. What is that? Son is the person. No. So, what do you think? I want my son to sleep. What is son? What is to sleep? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Son means child, of course. Son has to sleep. Svetlana, yes. But the thing is, what's the object? What do you think? What is the object in this sentence? Well, you guys, it's basically this, okay? The object of this sentence, right, is sleep. Dujani says, yes, sleep. So this is why it's complex, right? We call it the complex object because it is an object that has different parts that relate to each other, right? When we're using the direct object or indirect object, it usually can be somewhat simple. But when we're using the complex object, we usually have to make the sentence longer. Because I noticed somebody saying that sleep is a verb, but in this case, sleep does not have the function of a verb. Here, sleep is just an object. Okay? If I say I want to sleep, what is my verb in I want to sleep? What do you guys think? If I say I want to sleep, what is the verb of this sentence? What do you guys think? Johnny says sleep. Tony says want. So somebody says want, somebody says sleep. What do you guys think? What is the verb? The verb, remember guys, the verb in this sentence, I want to sleep. I want to sleep. What do you guys think? D says sleep. Syed says sleep. Learning English says to sleep. Kalipan says sleep. No, you guys, you're all wrong. Actually, my verb, like Swelly is saying, is want. Okay? This is a very important difference. And I know it's very confusing, but want is my verb. I want. I do this action of wanting. Wanting is an action that I do. Okay? Think about the example, I want cake. Okay? If I say I want cake, very clearly the verb is want. So I want something. I want cake. I want a car. I want money. Everyone wants money. The phrase everyone wants money, everyone does the action. The action is want. And what do we want? We want money, right? So money is the object. Okay? Want is our verb. I want money. I want flowers. I want cake. I want, let's say, I want a new computer. I want a watch, etc., 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 etc. That's the idea. So want is the subject, and we want something. We want an object. Okay, let me just make it focus. We want this object, and in this case, to sleep is the object. Okay, we want to sleep. Okay. Is that clear? Sleep is our object. Let me just. Write that down. Object. Verb. And the subject. Exactly. So that means that I want something. And what do I want? I want an object. I want to sleep. Okay. I know that this is very confusing, you guys, but the main difficulty here is that the verb is want, and to sleep is not exactly a conjugated verb. It is a verb in the, let's put it here. Put it here. When we say this, I'm not talking about sleeping as a verb. I'm talking as sleep as an abstract action or an abstract verb, right? In the simplest abstract form. Do you guys remember that in your English classes, maybe the teacher says, oh, today we'll talk about the verb to be. We will talk about the verb to do or the verb to want. Why do we say that? Why don't we just say the verb be or the verb want? We say the verb to be because when we say to verb, we're talking about it in the abstract form. It's not a conjugated verb. It's just the verb as a noun. It's like the name of the verb, all right? I'm going to write some examples here. Nope. To be, to want, to talk, to sleep, to eat, or to do. These are all verbs in their abstract form, all right? They are not a verb function. It's just the name of the verb, all right? Is that clear? I know it's confusing, but I want to sleep is the easiest way to explain. I want to sleep. Is it clear, you guys? Just give me a thumbs up, say it's good, say it's clear, say you understand. Or ask me questions. You can ask any question and I'll try to answer it, all right? But that is the basic formula. It's still SVO. S, so I want, V, and to sleep is O. Exactly, you guys. And that same formula, SVO, I want to sleep, we can use it in many other situations. For example, I like to swim. I love to eat. I hate to, you could say I hate to run. Right? I like to swim. If I say I like to swim, what is my verb? I like to swim. What is the verb, you guys? Oh, okay. There seems to be a little bit of lag. Exactly, Tony. Exactly, Kalipan. Exactly, Luan. Exactly. My verb is like, not swim. All right. I like this. I like an object. And the object, of course, what do you guys think it is? If I say I like to swim, what is the object? I'm going to wait for you guys. Tony, Kalipan, Luan. So I like to swim. Kalipan says swim. Remember, to swim, not just swim. To swim, because it is an abstract form of the verb. I like to swim, Luan. Exactly. Love and hate are verbs. Says buena fe. Exactly. Yes. Very, very good. So that's the big difference. All right. And that is where the complex object comes in. Because if I say, I want my son to sleep, I is the subject, want is the verb, and then my object is my son to sleep, of course. But it's a complex object. So it includes a direct object, to sleep, and an indirect object, my son. But in this case, it's a verb, right? Here, I'll write this. Remember, verb. So that's what makes it very different. Okay. That's the explanation, you guys, of the complex object. Okay. Tomoko says, I love to travel. Good. Yes. All right. So I'm going to give you guys some examples just so that we can analyze them. We're going to talk about the complex object a little bit more. All right. Remember, it's a noun plus a verb, right? We're using verbs. So the type of noun we use is usually a pronoun, but if not, it can also be a noun, okay? For example, let's use these three. Hang on, I'm just pasting them. So, if I say, I see him running, is that clear? I think you understand. I see him running is subject, verb, object. But is this a complex object or a simple object? I see him running. What do you guys think? Complex or simple? Kalipan says complex. What do you think, you guys? Do you agree? Tony says complex. Willie says complex. Juan says complex. Of course, it's complex. I see him, but I see him doing an action, running. So I'm not doing the action. I am only seeing. You see that? I see is my subject plus verb. And him running is my object, but him is my noun and running is my verb. So it's almost like another little subject verb object, like I was saying, guys, right? But I see him running. I am the subject. See is my verb. I see. I am doing the action of seeing. And I see what? Well, I see him doing this action. Sorry. When we talk a lot about grammar, it's very easy to get confused with all the words. I see what? I see all of this. And all of this is a noun plus a verb. I see him running. All right? So I see him running. That's the idea. Okay? I'm going to make it a little bit different. What about this question? Do I owe you some money? If it's confusing, remember that we can just make it a sentence by taking away the auxiliary. I owe you some money. So whether it's a question or whether it's an affirmative sentence, I owe you some money. What is the subject in do I owe you some money? Do I owe you some money? What do you guys think? What is the subject? What do you guys think? Tell me, you guys. What is the subject in do I owe you some money? I, says Luan, of course. Kos says Lam, Kalipan says I. Good, D. All right. So what is the verb? Obviously, you know that I'm going to ask. Buenafe says I is the subject. Riju says I. Perfect. Miranda says I. Thank you, Miranda. Very good. But what about the verb? Svetlana says oh. Tony says oh. Swelly says oh. Exactly. I owe. Right? Kos says oh. Of course, I owe is my subject and my verb. Whoops. Subject plus verb. But then what is the rest of it? What is you and what is some money? What is my object? Is it a complex object or a simple object? What do you guys think? Swelly says it is complex. Tony says it is complex. Of course, it is a complex object. And in this case, my noun is you. It's a pronoun. It's a type of noun. I owe you some money. Okay? And in this case, we have an indirect and direct object. Direct object is some money. And you is the indirect object. Okay? And that's it, you guys. That's all we need. For complex objects. They can be nouns plus verbs, and we can conjugate them differently. Sometimes the noun is in the present continuous. For example, I see him running. That's happening now. Or I saw him run. That would be in the past. Okay? Remember that our time is determined by the beginning of a sentence. So we will stop it here, you guys. Remember, we always give out a promo code. It is still Go Live. So if you have not joined Cambly yet, you can use this promo code to sign up for Cambly, get a nice discount on a new plan. Remember, Go Live, join. We will teach you all of these types of things on Cambly. There are literally thousands of different tutors from all over the globe, and we can all help you learn English, learn grammar. In my case, I am an advanced tutor. I specialize in advanced topics, grammar, advanced pronunciation, things like that. For those of you that don't know me, my name, sorry, I don't think I introduced myself so well, but my name is in the title, and you can just search for my profile is Quao Guerra. All right. So search for me. You can even just Google it, and it'll be the first. I think the first result, Quao Guerra, and I'll be right there. Remember, guys, I am like everyone on Cambly. I am a native tutor, and I specialize in different areas. So I hope to see you there. All right. Go live and join. Sign up for Cambly. Okay. Kalipan asks, "Do I do classes for IELTS?" Yes, I do. IELTS and TOEFL certification classes, certification exams. I mean, yes, I do them. I love them. They're actually quite interesting. So any questions that you have, you can ask me there. Sign up, and we will see you there. All right. Thank you, Swelly. Thank you, Kalipan. Thank you, Luan. Thank you, all of my regular students. I love you guys. I love to meet new students, new tutors as well, but new students. I love to meet all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hope to see you again very soon. And until next time. All right. So bye, you guys. Take care. See you, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you, Svetlana. Thank you, Kalipan. Thank you, Swelly. Bye, everybody. Take care. Remember to subscribe and use that promo code. Bye, Tony. Bye, Luan. Thank you for your participation. Bye, Jim. Thank you so much. All right. Take care.